Welcome back to the Own Your Awkward podcast. I'm your host, Andy Vargo, and every episode we get into what has made our guests vulnerable and how they've learned how to own their awkward in order to live their best life. Stay tuned so you can hear every awkward moment in today's show. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Own Your Awkward podcast. I'm your host, Andy Vargo, and today we have the author, Army veteran, and youth advocate, Jesse Cruz. Jesse, how you doing today?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me on the show.
Hey, thanks for joining us. I'm excited to have you here. You've got a lot of good stuff going on. You've done great stuff in the world, and you're continuing to do it, and love to hear your story. So this is exciting. Why don't you just tell people a little bit about who you are and what you have going on?
Absolutely. So, yeah, as you said, I'm a military veteran. I'm also a youth advocate, work at an organization called the Youth Advocate Programs. Been there 9 years. It's one of the greatest places to work in the world. We get to help youth every day just to help them be successful and be a mentor to them. So it's great. And became an author last year. And so I've been doing that ever since, doing interviews and giving speeches, book signings, and so it's been a great opportunity. I'm a family man with a wife and children, and coach sports, and I love to travel. So that's pretty much a little background of me.
Yeah, that's awesome. And your book, now the one that I'm familiar with is Live Your Dash. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, so the dash, a lot of people are unfamiliar with that term. And what that represents is if you ever go to a cemetery and you look at a tombstone, you'll see a date on the left and a date on the right, from the time that they're born to the time that they pass away, and the dash is the middle. And that's what we do with the life we've been given. So the whole premise of this book is to live your dash, meaning to discover your purpose, to find your freedom and your peace and your joy from living a life on purpose, living a life intentionally, to leave a legacy to those that you love, and to leave your footprint into the world. So that's what the dash is all about.
Gotcha. And so I imagine you're talking to people about living your dash. What's been that awkward thing you've had to learn to get over in order to live your dash as best as you can?
I would say with all the attention that I've received, so it's like having people come up to me that I don't know and say, hey, I know you, or I recognize you, or, the simple fact that people ask me to sign their book, I mean, that's the awkward thing I've had to come over, is like, I can't even believe that people are coming to me for, wisdom and advice about life and things like that. So I guess that just kind of surprised me, you know what I mean? Because I didn't know that this was going to be as successful as it is. So I was just shocked by it. You know what I mean? I always believed that it would happen. It's just the fact that it did, and it happened quicker than I imagined. So the awkward moment is getting online and promoting the books and promoting the story and sharing it with thousands of people online. I had to get over that fear because it was awkward for me to get online and talk about something that I produced and to promote something that I'm trying to create and share with the world, because I thought it was almost like I'm trying to brag, or I'm trying to say, look at how great I am. But I just had to realize that if I have something that I believe is life-changing and can help the world, why wouldn't I share it with the world? It is our responsibility. If we have something great within us, a gift, it is our responsibility to share it with the world. It's not bragging to talk about something great that you're doing. It's actually empowering, because you're inspiring other people to do the same.
Yeah, that is so true, and I think it's so hard sometimes to get to that mindset, because I think a lot of times people who are telling you it's bragging either have insecurities of their own, or jealousy, or dreams that they have pursued, or talents that they know they have, that something's holding them back from pushing, and so unfortunately they bring people down instead of building up what other people are doing.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So when you first, you write this book, and as people know, when you're an author, you're spending a lot of time on your own with your own thoughts, getting that out there. When did you first realize that it felt weird to actually promote it? Because you have it done, and the whole goal of writing the book is to get it out there, so it seems counterproductive for that to be an insecurity or an oddness, that you're actually going to promote it, because that's kind of the whole point of writing it. Yet, when did you notice that was a difference in how you felt?
I would say the very first time I did it. The very first time, so I had books come in, and the very first time that I took a picture of the book and I put it online, I was terrified. I was full of anxiety and fear and worry. So this was it was basically this time last year. It was last June. I put it out there online, and I was scared. Like, I was paralyzed with fear because I didn't know how people would respond. And I've learned to get over that, because if you're doing what you've been called to do, and if you're sharing with your gift with the world, it's going to work. You know what I mean? And maybe it won't always work the way that you envisioned it, but it will work because you're using your gift. And so last year, I was terrified. When I put this out there, I didn't know the response I was going to get. So I was blessed to have positive feedback with it, and people to come up to me and message me, and from all over the country, that people I didn't even know. But, you know, and every now and then it's still almost weird to me, because I'm like, I still can't believe this is all happening. And I still can't believe people are turning to me for this stuff, but I know that's what I've been called to do, so I just got to keep doing it. Even when I feel awkward or uncomfortable or unworthy, I just got to embrace it and just be thankful that I've been blessed, and not feel bad for being blessed.
Right. Yeah, I think all too often we lead with that feeling of guilt or shame for the talents we have or the skills we have, and that holds us back from giving them to people who really need them, which is unfortunate, because other people need that help or that resource or that perspective that you're able to bring. And it's unfortunate how often it does get held back. So I'm curious, were any of your fears realized when you had that? You know, you said you got all this good feedback. Did you have moments where it was like people calling you saying, "Jesse, I can't believe you put this book out there. What are you thinking?"
You know, I had mostly it was positive. You know what I mean? I have had, you know, constructive criticism. People said you should say this, you shouldn't have said that. I've had that. That didn't really bother me. What actually really probably bothered me the most was my ability to handle the success. You know, because if you have a gift or talent, and you get to that gift or talent, and all of a sudden it's really successful, but you don't have the character or maturity to handle that success, you can sabotage your own success. And I felt like I was doing that partially. Like, I was being successful, and then, you know, I'd have all these kinds of issues going on. My behavior would change. I'd have outbursts, and I'd act childish. It's because I didn't know how to respond with the success I've had. And even though all of it was good, even though all the positive support came pouring in, a part of me was like, I just don't deserve this. And I feel like we just do that so commonly. But I would disagree and say, yes, you do. There's nothing wrong with being blessed and successful. And it's just something I got to continue to accept and embrace. And I just got to know that I shouldn't try to sabotage my success because I don't feel worthy of it. I need to embrace it.
Right. So do you feel there was an event or a moment where you realized that you were doing that to yourself, where you realized, hey, I'm having the success and I need to adjust something about either my attitude or my actions to be able to really embrace it? Or did it creep up on you?
I'd say for me, it started with my family. So, like, you know, I'd go off and sell a whole bunch of books, and then I'd come home and start an argument with my wife. You know what I mean? Because my whole normal was not this success that I'm now learning to adjust to. So I would go home and, you know, I'd be rude, or I'd be short, or I'd be distant. I would do all these things. And so I started to notice, like, now it's causing the success can cause tension in relationships if you don't manage it properly. You know, and the success that I was feeling started to take priority over the things that matter the most. And that is, relationships matter the most. You know, I mean, the success without healthy relationships is failure. And that's what I was starting to experience. So I said, I have to make some adjustments.
Yeah, and I know you mentioned your wife, you've got kids, so you've got a full family that is obviously the most important relationships in your life, and yet that can be the first people that we kind of lash out at when we're stressed.
Oh, without a doubt. And
you said you've got a few kids, right? It's a full house.
Well, yeah. So I mean, just to kind of give you the background of why the book was written to begin with. So my wife and I, we have girls from prior relationships. So we are a blended family, and then we got together, we got married, and we had a child together. And the child that we had together, something we had talked about for years. And then she was born, but she was born prematurely. And so we were living basically in a hospital, watching her fight for her life every single day.
Yeah.
So that was a huge battle that we had to go through. And then after 42 days of her fight, she passed away.
Oh, gosh, I'm so sorry.
But it's because of her life, why the book was written. I got to see her continuously fight. She never gave up. Her life inspired me. And when you just keep your faith alive, you can use your faith to touch people all over the world, and that's what she's been doing. You've never met her. The listeners have never met her. People who are buying these books have never met her. She's a 1-pound little girl no one's really ever met, but she's also having an impact and difference in their lives. It's amazing to see how that works.
Yeah, and it's so. First of all, it's just so heartfelt to hear a parent lose a child. I just never know what to even say because it's a worse fear for any parent. So I'm so sorry about that. But I think it's beautiful how you are making her life bigger. Like no matter how long that dash is, that 42 days, it's reaching so many people that the impact of her life is huge, regardless of length of time.
Yeah, definitely. It's not always the length of the years. It's what you do with the years that you have.
Yeah. And that's, none of us, you never know how much time anybody has. And it's nice to think, I'll have, 40 years left in my life, or I'll have another, 20 years, or however long you think you have. But the reality is you never know. And that's why, for me with relationships, it's about making sure people know right now that they're important and that they're loved and that they've made an impact on my life, and doing whatever I can in return to impact other people, because I might make a great impact today and I might be gone tomorrow, or I might have 10 years to do it or 20 years, but who knows?
All right.
So what type of advice do you give to people who are in the middle of their dash and they don't know how long they have? Like, what kind of things can people expect to hear about in the book without giving away all the secrets, so that they don't go get their copy and do the homework they need to do?
Well, I mean, in the title, the subtitle of it is Discovering the 8 F's to Freedom. And the 8 F's are 8 different areas of everyone's life, not just mine. There's 8 different areas of everyone's life that if they're intentional about pursuing, they will live a purposeful dash. Their life will have meaning that they've been searching for their entire lives. So I break down the 8 different chapters in the book about the 8 different areas of when you take the time to pursue this, your life will take on a whole new direction and a whole new meaning, and it will give you the freedom that you've been desiring.
Wow. So is this a process that someone taught you, or that you'd kind of discovered on your own? How did you get to these 8 concepts?
So going through, obviously, like I mentioned before, the greatest tragedy of my life, I used to sit down, I took a notebook out, put pen to paper, and I wrote every single day. And I wrote until I cried. I wrote until I laughed. I wrote until I had an emotional breakthrough of some sort. And as I noticed, as I kept writing, I said, man, these 8 areas of my life are so important to me. And I've noticed when I'm intentional about these 8 areas, my life is in a better place. Doesn't mean what's going on around me is always perfect and always good and always my ideal situation. But when I can be faithful to these 8 areas, that no matter the storm that I'm going through, I can weather it. Doesn't mean it doesn't exist or it's not there, but I know how to fight through it. So as I was writing, these 8 areas just kept coming to mind. I said, no, I'm going to turn this into a book. And there's a great concept here that I believe has helped me grieve my losses and helped me to pursue the peace that I've desired, and has helped me to become successful on a situation that should have destroyed my entire future. So those 8 areas are what were able to take me from a point of destruction and despair to success and significance.
Yeah, I love that concept of how you're saying that no matter what you go through, like you may still have trials, you may still have things going on, and it doesn't mean that life just is automatically easy, but it's better, and you can weather those storms. That's actually something that I've talked about in my talk. I have a concept where I talk about choosing your own rock bottom, and the whole idea is, I had this day where I realized that I was at rock bottom, and I just had been there for a while, and it was like, if I didn't do anything yesterday to make tomorrow better, how do I expect it to get any better? And that was the lowest point in my life. And since then, I've had worse things happen. I've had bigger financial struggles. I've had other problems that have come up, but mentally I've not been in as dark of a place. And that's all the difference in being able to be successful and push forward and not go back to that dark place just because you have hard times.
Mhm. Yeah.
So how is it now? You wrote the book. You realized you were kind of, not being the best that you wanted to be around with your important relationships, your family, and you realized you need to kind of get your success in check. Since you've dealt with that, what did you need to do in order to kind of get that in check? Did you have to step back? Did you have to, go on a retreat by yourself or step out of the limelight for a little bit? How did you kind of get that into the right place?
Well, I've been blessed with having a dream team of supporters in my life. I got some, my wife is my hugest, she's my support, my encourager. And, I'm looking at my children and wanting to lead them and to guide them, and to having, a great family around me and supportive friends, and to having a support group, a great network of people who want to see me win. I think it's important that we surround ourselves with people who really, truly, honestly are cheering us on. They want us to win. They want us to do well. And having conversations and having awkward interactions with people telling me the hard truth. But we got to have people who can tell us the truth in love. Not the truth of jealousy or anger, but the truth in love. I love you so much that I got to tell you this truth, because if I tell you this truth, I think it can help you. It may hurt you right now in the moment, but in the long run, you'll thank me for it. So I think it's having the right people who truly want the best for you is huge.
And how can you tell when somebody is giving you that feedback from a place of love? Because I know sometimes I encounter people and it can be hard to know, am I needing to step back and really take in the feedback and let go of my own issues in order to hear what someone's saying, versus not buying in on someone who is just coming from a negative space?
I would say for me, I've had multiple people who've said things that were hurtful, said things that I didn't like to hear. I think it's taking the time to reflect on what they said and to not try to process that immediately and lash back at them. If you can be humble enough to just sit there and listen and not react, but respond, because there's a difference. People who react, they're just immediately going on emotion. People who respond are taking the time to reflect, honestly and critically, and finding, is there a 1% truth in what they're saying? Although there was 99% of it felt like criticism, give me the 1% of the truth that was in there. And I try to search for that 1% of truth. Even though I may not fully agree with what they said, I'm trying to find out where is the truth in what they're saying. And I try to focus on the truth of what they're saying. And, I've been able to identify people who really do want the best, and there's people who really don't. And in trying to decipher that, it's going to take experience. It's going to take some maybe disappointment, some fragmented relationships. But a person who may be hard on you and saying the harsh truths will still stay in contact with you and still want to be there for you, and still know that no matter what, I may have said something that hurt your feelings, but it was out of love. So it's the difference in knowing if what they're saying is out of love or is it out of negativity. And you should know the person. You know their heart. You should be able to develop that relationship with them to know the difference. And sometimes, sometimes you don't know. Sometimes you don't know. And that's where we got to have the discernment to know the difference.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. We don't always know, and I like the idea that you bring up about making sure you take the time to sit with what they give you before you respond and not just react off of your first instinct. Because whenever we hear something we don't like, our initial response is bound to be, like, oh no, that's wrong, I'm going to brush it away, or I'm going to push back with something negative. And when we do that, we don't actually take the time to really look for that 1%. And regardless of where the person's coming from, what they're perceiving of you is generated in their world from something that you're giving off. And that doesn't mean that you have to change it or be wrong. You might be going down the exact right path and it just doesn't work well with their style. But if you got to find it and make sure that is right, because sometimes you find that 1% and say, yeah, they were right about that, but this is what I'm sticking with because this is me, and they just don't understand my message. And sometimes you've got to realize that, oh, I didn't realize that was the communication I was giving off by my actions, and maybe I need to be more aware and make some adjustments myself.
Yes, you got it.
Yeah. It's always a journey, isn't it?
It definitely is. That's what makes it beautiful, though.
Yeah. So what's next for you? You got this book out. We've been living under quarantine, so it's been hard to do live events, but that's starting to lift up in different parts of the world. So you got any exciting stuff coming up?
Yes, I mean, I've taken full advantage of this quarantine time. It's given me a good writing season. I'm working on my second book, so I just got the edits back from a family member, and then I'm going to send it forward to another editor here in a few weeks. So I'm going to go through my rewrites. So I've taken this time to work on the second book. It's almost completed, and I've also started writing a script for a movie which is based on the second book. So these are the projects that I'm looking forward to with hope.
That's exciting. Yeah, it's no matter what you do when you're living that dash, there's just more to be done. It's not, well, I did that one project and now I'm done, right? It's the idea of success is always having something in the pipeline, having something that we're pursuing, and that's where that fulfillment comes in.
Yeah, it's about helping as many people as possible. That's what I believe we're here for, is to help others.
Mhm. Now, we've got your bio and your link here. Where's the best place for people to go to find a copy of your book? Is it through your Facebook page or you got a landing spot?
So for me, obviously best way to contact me is through my email, authorjessecruz@gmail.com, or on Facebook, Jesse Cruz or Jesse A. Cruz, my business page, or on Instagram, author Jesse Cruz. Those are all ways for people who want the personalized copies. You can order them from me directly on those social media accounts, or for people who want to get them online, they can order on Amazon.com or BarnesandNoble.com.
Okay, cool. That's awesome. All over the place. Makes it easy to find you.
Definitely.
People got to order that book now so that we can all read it and start employing the tactics before we get into the next book.
For sure.
It's neat to hear. One thing, as interesting as this quarantine has been, it's been really great to hear how people have chosen to use that time, because time is that resource we rarely have enough of, and no matter how much we get, it's like, oh, I wish I had more to do this or that. And as much as it's disrupted our life lately, we've been given this great gift. In many of our cases, there are people who have had to work a lot more or have not been able to use the time because of health or whatever reason. But for a lot of us, we've been given this gift of time, and I just think it's great to see, you getting your movie script done, getting your second book finished. Like, there's so much goodness that can come out of what can be a scary or uncertain.
And that's what part of living your dash is all about. No matter the circumstance, there is an opportunity for something positive to come from it.
Mhm. Yeah, for sure. And I guess it's that finding that mindset that you can set aside whatever tragedy you're in and say, what is the positive? What's the light? How can I get some good out of this? And it doesn't always mean that you're going to be like, well, I'm glad this happened because this really good thing is going to be even better. But it's like, how can I salvage whatever I can out of the situation? And sometimes the good may be way better and way outweigh the tragedy that you had happen, or the difficulty. But sometimes it's just, how can I at least, not walk away without some good coming from it?
Mhm. Yeah, for sure.
So we are down to just a couple minutes here. So before we go, what would be your advice for people to learn how to own their awkward, or live their best dash right now?
I would say to, be honest with yourself. To discover what that you have, you got to ask yourself a few questions. First, ask yourself, what do I love to do? Follow that up with, what am I good at? Then say, what does the world need? And fourth, can I get paid for it? So do all those 4 things, because you have to make a living. But you want to also enjoy what you do, you want to be good at it, and you want to help meet the needs of other people. When you get the answer to all those 4 questions, you ask them honestly and reflect on them. That is going to guide you to living your dash the way that you have always dreamed of. Because when you ask those 4 questions, now you have a roadmap to the purpose of your life. So for those who are uncertain and say, I don't have a skill, I don't have a talent, I don't have the financial opportunity, everyone has something to offer. There are people who are depending on you. I say this to everybody. There is a person in this world right now who is depending on you to pursue the gift that you have, because they need what you have to offer. So their life could be depending on you stepping up, being bold enough and brave enough to pursue your purpose and live your dash.
Oh, I love that. And it's amazing to me when you break it down into those 4 questions. It sounds so simple. It's almost this this light bulb going on of, why haven't we been taught to just ask that question from day one? Like, that seems like so basic and so important that but at the same time, when we're living in our own reality, we get blinded by responsibility or limiting beliefs and all these different things that get in the way. So if we can get back to that, that's a beautiful thing. Think how simple life would be if we could just do that.
Yeah, we got to ask these questions.
Mhm. Yeah, and I love the idea of, what do you enjoy? Because it doesn't, work and success doesn't have to be painful, and it should be fun, and you should be enjoying life even when you are putting in the long hours to pursue your dream and to be one or the other.
Right, you got it.
And so, as you know, it's not a quick, easy thing to write a book, and it's definitely a lot of work, but you're obviously very talented at it. You're loving what you do, and you're a testament to that.
Thank you.
Well, Jesse, I really appreciate your time with us today. Everybody listening, please make sure you go follow Jesse and read his book and watch for when he's speaking in an area near you, and give him some love out there. I really love the message, and look forward to hearing more, reading your second book and watching that movie.
Thank you so much. I appreciate your time.
Yeah, thank you, Jesse. We will talk soon.
All right, have a good one.
Thank you so much for listening in for today's show. Be sure to visit awkwardcareer.com to continue your journey. And of course, please like, subscribe, and share with your friends so they can find their awkward side and learn how to own it.